You can edit it out or whatever, and I'll try to be very articulate and slow, not slow, short-winded, because you have to be long-winded.
I mean, I don't actually know how I'm going to use it. I know that I wanted to ask you questions about Cole,
Okay.
Because I wasn't there.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the first episode of, I'm going to find a way to edit this in, of Stream My Shit. Yeah, I met this guy, one of the best rappers I've ever heard in my life. I say top 50 just to make it fair to other rappers. Yeah, I'll talk more about him when he comes on stage. I'm not Armando. I'm not good with like introductions. Everybody, that's Coley Xavier.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, all right, cool. We're going to do a 20-minute interview.
Let's fucking talk.
Yeah, let's talk about it. All right, let's first I wanted to talk about how I first met you. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to tell you. And some of you that do know this story, I'm going to say it again. So please bear with me. But I saw Coley perform for the first time. And his first 2 or 3 songs, I'm like, oh man, this dude's like really good. I come from an area where people are just reading ingredients off of a cereal box and they consider that hip hop. And it's just like, this is whack. Came out to Atlanta, saw this guy perform. I'm really blown away. And then I think his 5th or 4th song, you just hear these 3 notes just down, down, down. He's like, this is my ego dead. And I just my entire jaw just dropped. I mean, to the point, and I'm not exaggerating about this, I did not talk to Coley for a whole year because I just didn't want to seem like a dick rider. So I just was going around playing in bands and trying to build up equity in the community. So I just didn't seem like some guy just oh my God, just glazing for no reason, you know what I mean? And then I was doing a jam at my house. And he just randomly walked in one day, and then he was like, oh, I like this song. What do you guys cover? And I'm like, oh, this is a song I'm going to do. He's like, do you want to jump on it? And I'm like, oh, my God, yeah. And then, it just kind of took off from there. But yeah, I mean, I've always been really impressed with your music. You have a song called, Be a Man. And this is probably a story that other people don't know. But when I first heard it, I think that's a perfect song.
Thank you.
I think, Eleanor Rigby, So Fresh and So Clean, the things that you were trying to do on Be a Man, I immediately got the tone of your voice, the beat, the message on it, and I remember speaking to you about it the first time in person, and then you getting kind of freaked out, just dude, chill out. That's why I didn't talk to you for a year. Anyways, that's why I'm inviting him on the show, and I want to start this off by telling you guys why I like them, and then them kind of giving some explanation and deeper explanation to that. So enough talking from me. I wanted to ask, where did you come from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
East Side. So I was born in Northside Hospital. Lived in the city. Then we was off Campbellton Road when I was 1 or 2. Moved to Norcross when I was 2 until 3. Then moved to Lithonia off Panola Road when I was 3 or 4. Stayed there for the majority of my life, coming up just all over Panola, anywhere from Panola to Salem to Browns Mill, but always in that Lithonia area. And then moved to Moreland Avenue in East Atlanta when I was 15, 16. I was there for a few years. And then I went to college, but always somewhere in the East Side. I've lived in Lithonia, I've lived in Decatur, I've lived in East Atlanta, and now I live in Stone Mountain. So the East Side for sure is my life.
All right. Apparently, there are a lot of discarded baby clothes across the East Side of Atlanta. I was I got told a story that as you were driving to school as a kid, you didn't like taking the highway.
Oh, I used to hate, no, not even as a kid, from fucking infancy to 11, I used to hate being on the highway.
Yeah. Well, I guess your Bob was this kid was so smart that he understood that he can't go to school naked. So he would find ways to get the child lock off the window And then I would just turn around at a stoplight, and he's throwing all of his clothes out of the window.
We'd get to school, and I look in the back seat, and he'd be damn naked. His shirt, his shoes, like back on the highway. Like he's gotten the window down quietly, and there goes the shoe, there goes the shoe, and I would just be livid. Like, Uncle, did you just take off? Oh my God, Joe. That was at least once or twice a month. And then I just had to learn to lock the window. But when he would get in the car and climb across sometimes, he was smart enough at like 3 to know what button to push to unlock the damn window. He couldn't get the door open, but he would throw his clothes out the window.
And just be like, well, what are we going to do? You know, we got to go back home, I guess, and not take the highway. Speaking of, you know, being a kid and driving to school, she also mentioned kind of just freestyling for you guys. She said she wasn't like a bus person.
No, not. I mean, I rode the bus some years, but for like from like 3rd grade to 5th grade, I think it was, she drove me to school like every single morning. Even though actually, even when we were younger, when my sister was in school with me, so like pre-K, my sister was in 5th grade. 6th grade, when I was in kindergarten, my sister was in 6th grade. And our elementary school went to 6th grade. So for my first 2 years of elementary school, my mom drove us to school, and then like my last 2 or 3 years of elementary school, she drove me to school. I only rode the bus like 1 or 2 years, but she used to drive us to school a lot.
You know, we sing in the car, and he'll tell anybody. I would say, pick a subject matter, and they pick a subject matter, and I would rap, my mama rap, all the way to where we were going. And they would be in the back seat, like laid on the floor laughing at me because I was just scared of anything, and I throw a cuss word in every now and then. They would just really thought that was funny. But yeah, he would always say, Mom, I'm going to be a rapper. And I'd be like, yeah, you want to rap me.
But I also think she was a part of that first talent show, right?
So my first time ever singing on stage, I was 5 years old. I sang Usher, You Got It Bad. My sister danced to Michael Jackson, You Rock My World. So I was in kindergarten. My sister was in 6th grade. We performed at the talent show, and my mom was the host of the talent show.
Word.
So she introduced every kid, but she also introduced her 2 kids as well. We both performed, and she was the host of the show. I thought that was really cool. So my first time on a stage, I was like 3, and we was in like the church plays. And she was in those plays too. But then my next time, like that was my first time performing, I was 3. And then next time I was like 4 in another church play. And then at 5 was my first talent show singing, and she was the host.
Yeah, she said that you did a spin and threw your jacket into the crowd.
Yes, I did a few spins during the breakdown when the guitar was playing. I did some spins. I hit a split on each leg. And then I threw my blazer, like I had a little jacket. I threw my jacket into the crowd.
She didn't know that you were practicing in the car.
Yeah.
The
Facts, literally.
All right.
I never saw that jacket again in my life, for sure. One of them first or second grade girls took that home as a memento.
Hey, breaking hearts at a young age. Love it. No, I mean, it's interesting too because, I mean, I know your music to be very theatrical.
Ashe.
Ashe, yeah, that's where we're going with this. All right, Gazoom type. Anyways, but yeah, I know you to be a theater kid. You kind of have theater kid energy.
For sure. Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. Are we cheersing to being or is that mine? Where's mine?
This is mine. I was just about to drink because sometimes I'm drinking my problems
whatever,
away.
you know. Cheers to theater. Anyway, well, yeah, right. I'll mime it
Cheers
since
to
we're all
theater.
talking about theater, right? Anyways, yeah. Where was there like a definitive moment where your wanting to be on stage transitioned from theater to music? Like, I'm not sure. Like, were you just placed there because of, you know, this is where your mom knew to, like, she saw you having a love for limelight and just put you on stage because that was something she had an affinity for? Or, I mean, it seemed like you were a little too young to be like, Mom, I want to be on the stage.
Right.
You know?
Honestly, that's a very good question. I think originally it started with her putting me on stage, just like I was with her when she would go to the like drama ministry. shits, and I just kind of, she's in the play, and I'm just like there, and like the kid that was supposed to do the role wasn't there, so they're like, oh, well, just bring Cole up and let him like read the line or let him do this, and they told me what the line is, and I do it, and I ended up getting the part that way, and then it became apparent that, you know, I've always had like a big personality, even as a child, like as an infant, as a toddler. So, excuse me, like I said, talent show at 5, and then my next stage play, I was in 2nd grade, if I'm not mistaken, and I was the elephant in the play, and like I was supposed to be the forgetful elephant, because elephants are supposed to remember things, so that was like my character. And there was times where other kids were forgetting their lines, and I'm kind of like saying their lines to get them back on. And like, I think she just saw that it was good for me to be on the stage. But how I actually transitioned into music had nothing to do with acting at all. I was a pretty smart kid. I was the Black History Bowl team captain, academic bowl team captain, and math bowl team captain when I was in middle school. And here I am, 7th grade, and my teacher, Miss Marion, she was over one of the teachers over the PTA, and she's like, Cole, I know you're on the academic bowl and the Black History Bowl team. I would love if you wrote a poem for Black History Month and you performed it at the PTA meeting. So I wrote a poem for the PTA meeting, and it was super simple. That's when I thought all poetry had to rhyme. It was like either like AABB CCDD rhyme scheme, or like ABABCD some shit, some really basic shit. But after I finished and I performed it, I was like really proud of myself. And I said, you know what? I think I can write a rap too, because I know that poetry is just rap, or rap is just poetry like on a beat. So here I am. That's February of 2009, 15 years ago, and I wrote my first rap then. And I've been rapping ever since.
You still got that rap?
Yeah,
too, right?
I still remember it for sure.
Yeah. So I know that like seeing Notorious for the first time was like a pretty big inspiration.
It fucking
right?
changed my life. Yes, 6th grade. My mom took me and my sister to see Notorious when it dropped. I was in 6th grade. It was spring of 2008, and I just loved the music. Like I remembered knowing the song Big Papa, because I was a huge movie fan. I mean, being an actor, I still am. And Hardball with Keanu Reeves and Michael B. Jordan when he was a child. There was a scene in Hardball where they were singing Big Papa, so that was like my first introduction to that song. But being like a child, one of my first hip hop songs I remember hearing on the radio when I was like 3 was Hypnotize. So when we went to see Notorious, that was like my first time really just being thrown into like Biggie's music catalog, and I was like in love with all of that music. Like to this day, the Sky is the Limit by Biggie featuring 112 is my favorite song of all time. But when we left the movie theater and we went home, I went online, fucking downloaded like either LimeWire or BearShare, fucked up my mom's computer. But that was like the first time I ever downloaded music, and I downloaded every song from that movie that I really enjoyed. And that my first music I ever downloaded on my own to listen to on my own was some Notorious B.I.G. And it was inspired from going to see that movie.
Hell yeah. Well, let's kind of fast forward from like kind of the love for rapping, you know, building up your own catalog. And I know your first show was at a venue called WonderRoot, right?
WonderRoot. Oh my goodness, yes. Fucking WonderRoot was off of Memorial Drive and Moreland Avenue. Anybody know where Madison Yards is, where the fucking AMC theater is, and the fucking First Watch? Across the street from that is like this super duper holistic like spot. I forget the name of it. And then like across the street from that is this big ass like loft apartment buildings. That's where WonderRoot was. They tore it down to build those apartments. Shout out to gentrification. But fucking WonderRoot. So it was my first time ever going there. It was October of 2015. I wasn't in school, like wasn't in college at the time. I was working at the IHOP on Panola Road, and there was this girl who went to Arabia Mountain, and she was like, hey, I need to make $20 so I can buy my fucking homecoming ticket. because I don't have the money for my homecoming ticket. My homecoming dance is tonight. Can I take the second half of somebody's shift? I was working a 2 to 10 shift. So I said, yeah, you could take my shift from 6 to 10. I'll work the first half 2 to 6. You work 6 to 10 or whatever. And because I was off on a Thursday, which I never would be off on Thursdays, I have this friend, her name is Tate. Shout out to baby Tate. And she had a performance at WonderRoot. It was her on the set, Tate, Airy Soul, is it Garrett Odom from the South Side? And then Pluto Smith was one of the hosts. So I was like free at the evening, which I never was because I worked the fucking graveyard shift usually. And I went to go see Tate perform at WonderRoot. And from there, it's just like I'm just like asking niggas, oh, let me rap with you, let me get on stage, let me get on the cypher, let me rap, and niggas just like looking me over. But shout out to Shag and Free Life Entertainment, Shag and Skrill and Drew. Shag was throwing this show. This was before he threw the show called Freedom Function. He was collabing with a producer and videographer by the name of Tapes. And Tapes and Shag were putting together a show called Mandeville. What was it called? You remember this? Mandeville Monthly. So the Mandeville show, and it was, if I'm not mistaken, July 26, 2016 was the date of the show.
Cole's gonna give you the details.
Yeah.
If you didn't know.
And I wasn't like, my name wasn't on the flyer. It said, featuring Ace Apollo, Willis the Lion, Young Baby Tate, and more. I was one of the and more niggas, but it was still like my first time where I was on the show, and I actually opened the show up. July 26, 2016, if I'm not mistaken. That was my first time performing, and it was at WonderRoot as well.
Very cool, man. So from there, obviously built up enough clout and a following to get your own Stream My Shit.
Right.
One thing that I know about you is you can be very energetic on stage, but you kind of always describe to me something about show mode or like Showtime Cole. Not Showtime. It's
performative. Like I have to perform, and it's a difference between Cole and Coley and Coley Xavier. Yeah, for sure.
Could you kind of like I guess like talk to me about what it is being an artist that has kind of a fan base, and like does somebody need to wait a whole year to talk to you, or like what the difference in how should somebody approach you when they get off stage? Ooh, that's got to get edited out.
I'll say this. You don't have to wait a whole year to talk to me, but I would really, if I'm performing and I just get off the stage, at least wait 15 to 20 minutes to talk to me, because it takes a lot of energy to be like expressive, especially when I'm like putting a lot into it. And for lack of better terms, sometimes it really is just like draining. And that's not a bad thing. It's just when you're super emotive, you're expending a lot of energy. So sometimes I need to recoup that energy before I can interact with people socially. So you don't have to wait a year to talk to me, but if I haven't performed yet, fucking talk to me. But if I just got off stage, maybe wait 20 to 30 to maybe an hour afterwards so I can calm down. Usually when I get off stage, I'm like to myself with like close friends where like I can't be Coley Xavier the moment I step off the stage. I have to go back to being Cole. And sometimes people are coming up to Cole but wanting to talk to Coley Xavier. Yeah. And that takes some energy sometimes to get back into that mode.
Yeah, right after you did like Lessons from My Father, like, oh, good job, man. Yeah. What's your Instagram? It's like, nigga, shut the what?
Yeah. Like, bro, I'm sad right now.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to say something about that line or that song, which I believe you're doing tonight. But basically, you're like receiving lessons from your dad. And I think I've spoken to you about this before, but I think the only time you actually talk back to your dad in that song is to say he's saying something like, "What are you, gay? You got to take the titty out your mouth. You're being too spoiled or too much of a mama's boy." Yeah. And you respond back like, no, Dad, I'm not gay, but you know, if I was, I'm glad to know this isn't a safe space.
Right.
Which I think is, well, first of all, just listening to it, you make everybody like uncomfortable when you say that, man.
Good.
It's I know. I've heard something that like music is supposed to bring peace to the unsettled and unsettle the people at peace.
Ashe.
It's oh man.
Let's
Not
go
gonna
there.
let that one go.
Ashe, my nigga, yes.
Yeah, but it's a devastating line, man. I personally like am a huge fan of that song and the vulnerability there.
Thank you.
I know recently that you know, your father and you have kind of come back into speaking terms. Has he listened to the song yet, or
He's never heard it. I'm gonna be honest. I thought about, because I wrote it when we weren't talking. Me and him didn't speak for like 2.5, almost 3 years. And I wrote it during that time where we weren't speaking. And I thought about emailing it to him, but to a lot of people don't know this. My father is blind. He's had glaucoma since he was 20, or like in his early 20s, and they told him then, you'll be blind within 5 years. But he took a lot of just random eye drops and smoked a lot of weed, and his vision lasted him for about 25 to 30 more years. He didn't fully lose his vision until about 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. So because I know he's blind, I was thinking about emailing it to him, because it would have taken a long time for him to check that email. He only checks it when he has people who can see who are with him. And he's just asking people to help him with stuff. Like when I go over there, I read his mail to him. I help him like pay bills sometimes. So if he would have had somebody else over there, he would have been like, hey, can you check my email for me? And then they'll be like, oh, well, here's an email from your son. And he would have just randomly came about it that way. That was how I intended on sending it. I actually have been thinking about playing it for him, because I feel like he needs to hear it too, so he can really hear how I feel. Because even though we're on better terms, I would be a liar if I say I'm all the way okay, you know, and I've completely forgiven him for everything. But even with that being said, even when we hadn't talked, even when we weren't on good terms, the name of that song is Lessons from My Father. And I had planned on writing a song called Lessons Part 2, where I'm not being so critical of him. And I'm talking about the good lessons that he taught me. Because that song, Lessons from My Father, I'm being in a lot of ways critical of the things that he has taught me, whether verbally or non-verbally, messages and things that he said, either with his actions or with his own beliefs. But I thought about writing Lessons Part 2, where I'm not so critical and I'm more so truly appreciative for the good things that he's taught me, rather than some of the, for lack of better terms, fuck shit that he's influenced me to believe, or at least influenced a younger and more naive version of me to believe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally, I know you to be somebody who doesn't like to harbor a lot of anger. Right. You know what I mean? You can be somebody who's very, like a mediator amongst like your friends and, you know, peers. So I can imagine, especially just knowing some of the relation between your mom and your dad and some of the dysfunction there. But I mean, shout out to you, man. That's a part of growth. I mean, when I first met you, man, like, I don't think you were in a space to write a song like that.
Right, I wasn't.
Even speaking to, like, you know, your mom today, like, I mean, the kid that I met, like 4 years ago, like, you're like I wouldn't say like a whole different person. I think your mom said today, it's like, you just got tired of being like lost, it seemed like, you know what I mean? And just, I don't know, maybe, you know, couch surfing in college or whatever it was, just like, man, I'm fucking tired of this, man. It's time to just be me and just do what I need to do. You know, now you got your cool glasses and saying ashe and stuff, you know? So, like, I mean, I'm personally, like, very proud of the progress you've made, not just, you know, professionally and then with your music, but also with, you know, family, you know?
Thank you.
And that being said, too, I mean, I know that, you know, in recent, you know, moving out of the house, especially when you have a mother that, like, really much loves you, you know what I mean? There can be some tension there, just, like, leaving, like, you know, the nest and stuff. Are we ever going to hear, like, Lessons from My Mom, or kind of a Growing Pains, like, kind of a song there? Or?
I have a song called Prince of the Palace, and that one is an ode to my mother, where I'm talking about, all right, so quick story, niggas was broke, so every Mother's Day / birthday, my mom's birthday is on Valentine's Day, so I have to show her like that little extra love, so every Mother's Day / birthday, if I was broke, all I would do is just like write her a poem. And something that I said, like a reoccurring motif that was in a few poems, is I said that you've always been able to make a palace out of an apartment. Excuse me. So Prince of the Palace like starts off with me saying, apartment, make a palace of this apartment. And I just like talk about like growing up in these different apartments and how my mom like made it feel so loving. So that one is like an ode to her being able to make something out of nothing. I have another song called Mama Said that's going to be on this project produced by Ned Log. And that one is basically just like talking about lessons that she taught me.
The night before, I think he'd been at your house, and he was supposed to call me when he got home, and he didn't call. So of course I get nervous, you know, although he's living on his own now. I'm just like, you didn't call me, and you know, you don't understand. Until you have your own children, you know, I was still concerned about you, that you have a way home. You could have just came and stopped here, and I could have took you to da-da-da-da-da. He was just like, I was finishing up my song. And I was like, what song called what? Trying to call us bluff. And he was like, it's a song about you. It's called Mama Said. I was like, yeah, right. So about a week later, he's like, oh, I got something for you to hear. We're in the car, in my truck, and I said, oh, what is it? And he said, he does it on his phone and plays the song Mama Said. And I was like, oh, you really did do that song.
Probably had to cover up. It's like, oh, now I got it right.
Yeah, I got it right song, because I was living. I was just like, you don't get it. What does it take to text and say, made it home?
Mama said, be careful what you say and watch your mouth. Mama said, put your mind to it and you succeed. Mama said, you know, son, it's okay to need therapy. And like, I'm just talking about the things that my mama said and how I should have listened when she said it, because mama said a lot. Mama said a lot, and she was right every time. Yeah. So that one is coming out later this year or next year. So it won't necessarily be lessons from my mom, but there definitely are songs coming that will pay homage to, like, you know, the different ways in which she's taught me things.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's great. Also, I know Prince. What is it?
Prince of the Palace.
Prince of the Palace. That's like my favorite Coley song. I don't know if you guys have heard it yet, but like I love that song. Also, speaking of just kind of like how close you are and like her being like the main figure in your life, you know, she actually, you know, was speaking to me today, and she has like this really incredible story about. I just kind of want to get your perspective on it, like, you know, knowing, you know, the relationship she had with your father. I guess has always been pretty, you know,
tumultuous.
Hey, come on,
yeah,
Ashe. But I mean, she was pretty open about it and said she's been open about it with you, where she was like, I was not planning on keeping this baby, you know,
yeah.
And you know, went to the clinic, and you know, she was like, you know, I was smoking a blunt, you know what I mean, like, and she was ready to get up and, you know, get an abortion, and apparently as she got up, you started kicking.
Is that the first time?
Yes.
That's insane.
I stayed high.
Mm-hmm.
He was asleep. He was high. And I just recently, probably 5, maybe 7 years ago, told him this story. And because I didn't want to tell him, because I didn't want him to think crazy about me. But I got to the point there, Nate, I don't give a damn what you think about me. I'm just mama, whatever. And I waited another 5 minutes, and he just, the longer I waited, the more he started kicking. And I stood up to just say, fuck it, I'm still going to have this abortion. Yeah, I know it's a life, but why are you kicking now? And as I went to walk to the front desk, I made her feet to the door. And I looked back, and she says, we're going to send you your money back. We'll send you the money. I went out there and knocked on her window, and she was like, is it over? How long have I been asleep? And I was like, ish. This little son of a bitch started kicking. She's like, oh, hell, we can already have a baby. And this was his dad's sister's best friend that lived here. And they all lived in St. Louis, the sister and them, but the dad and I, we all lived here. And this was her best friend who just took to me as a little sister because I was family. And I got in the car and we went straight to Babies R Us in Conyers and probably bought up half the store.
Yeah, that was my first time I ever kicked.
Yeah, that's like insane to think about. And she's like, fuck it, man, I'm still gonna go get it, and then just went to the door and like walked out.
Yeah.
You know? And then a little bit later on, you know, kinda not understanding if she still wants to have a child. I mean, it's interesting being being an adult and then realizing that I don't think there are adults. We're just like a little bit flabbier kids. You know what I mean? And like our parents are human.
Right.
So, you know, you got your mom, you know, like in the bread aisle, I guess aisle 7 and like a Kroger, just like not sure like what she's gonna do with this kid. And I'm gonna try to cut it into this interview where she kind of talks like, man, like I really don't like this guy. Like how I'm gonna have.
She hated my father.
So I was supposed to abort him. I didn't because the little turd started kicking. I was gonna keep smoking weed until I just gave birth to somebody with 3 legs and 4 fingers and 1 eye. I didn't care because I'd have left him at the hospital. I didn't care, Joe. I hate it. Their dad, and I hate is a strong word, but I despise his father. How can I give birth and love somebody? And I can't stand my daughter's dad because that's another situation, but that was different because he wasn't in my face. This man is in my face. He's abusive. I gotta raise a child with this man for 18 years. Jackie's father didn't care if she lived, died, born, whatever the hell. He didn't care. So he wasn't a factor. But this man, this is his only child, is going to be present. And I hated him to the point where it would make me vomit. I still get nauseated just thinking about him because of the abuse that I underwent. And now I've got to have his child. And the family's in St. Louis. It's just us. I gotta see this bitch all the time. How can I love this baby, Joe? And oh my God, did I not love that little son of a turd? That boy, he was brilliant.
I could say it, yeah. She hated him.
Yeah, and then I guess a random lady just comes into aisle 7 of this grocery store and says, sorry, ma'am, like, I don't mean to freak you out, but God sent me to speak to a lady in a purple dress with flowers who's pregnant. And your mom, you know, was pretty, like, adamant, like, I'm going to use her word. She's like, you know, I'm a big girl. I wasn't showing, you know what I mean? And I wore this dress to, like, hide the fact that I was not, like, I'm pregnant. Like, my employers didn't even know. So she's like, I am pregnant. You know, what do you want to tell me? He's like, you're going to give birth to a mighty man of God.
Yep.
And for some reason, I know not to touch you and pray with you. Just thanks for letting me be obedient. And I guess she just left. And like from that day forward, your mom like was like, you know, I'm giving birth to this child, I guess a son. Like I'm going to be a mom and somehow find ways to love this kid. And I'll let you listen to the interview. But I mean, if you guys ever met Coley's mom, like that's her boy, you know, like that's her boy. And anybody who loves his boy, she loves like hers.
I'll add a part to that story that I don't know if she went in detail with you about. So she said the lady, like when she seen her, she started speaking in tongues, said all of that stuff. My mom is kind of like weary of her energy because fucking, who are you, lady?
Now I'm gonna tell you this without crying, Joe. I was sitting by God. I said, oh God, here we go. Because I got a mental illness runs in my family. My mom's side, rampantly. Like suicide. My mother committed suicide, Cole's grandmother. Nobody really knows that story, but I was 4 in the bed, sleep with her. And she was having to take her life while my 7 and 9-year-old sister brother in the other room. We woke up to a dead body. At 4? What? So mental illness has been, I think from that day, 49 years ago to today, we probably lost 8 people from my My grandmother's lineage probably four to suicide in the other part of the family, but then my grandmother's other children, my great grandmother's other children. So my great grandmother, 6 kids. From my grandmother, within 4 of us killed themselves, and my great grandmother, one of the other children, 2 or 3, maybe 7 or 8. So looking at 12 suicides in 49 years. Okay, including my 24-year-old little first cousin that killed herself. It's got to be 6 years ago. She was 24 at the time, and she just published a book and was depressed. Went to her brother's house, visited him in Maryland. He was a cop. He went to work, took his pistol, went out to the patio and killed himself. 24, brilliant. Just was working on her master's. But anyway, it's Cole's second cousin, my first cousin. So here this woman is talking about God sent her. So in my head, oh, God bless her. You know, it's been some girl, what? But let me shut up now because she's mentally ill. I need to be a little more respectful of that, because that's a real sensitive point with me. And I said, okay, and what did God tell you? You know, and she says, he sent me to aisle, oh God, 7, because she said 7, completion. 7, aisle 7, and told me to prophesy to the pregnant woman in the purple dress with flowers on it. Well, I had the purple dress with flowers on it. Nobody knows I'm pregnant because I'm a big girl, because I'm just, you know, I'm not showing. I'm 7 months. And I said, oh, okay. Like, so what did he say? Because now I'm starting to get I'm curious. And she says, she told me to prophesy to you and tell you, he told me to prophesy to you and tell you that you're going to give birth to a mighty man of God, and the world is awaiting his coming. I looked at her. I said, well, I am pregnant. I don't know if it's a boy or girl, so thank you for that. And did he now? So I'm stuttering, you know. She's just like, yeah, the world is waiting for your son.
And she said when she walked off, my mom said she actually forgot about the whole encounter and continued to shop for another 20 to 30 minutes. So then she says she gets to her car, and while she's walking through the parking lot, she notices everybody in the parking lot staring at one car while they're walking by. So you see somebody walking and they just looking until they pass that car. So mom says she's approaching her car, like her own car, and parked directly next to her is the lady who talked to her. And she's sitting in the front seat, screaming, tongues, shaking, almost looked like she's seizing, but like screaming and speaking in tongues. And my mom said she was like ducking and dodging to not be seen by the lady because she didn't want to see her again. She didn't want her to start talking to her. So mom says she pulls off and she starts thinking, I completely forgot about the interaction. Here I am 30 to 40 minutes later. I've been in the store. I was still shopping. How long was that lady shaking in that front seat? Why was she shaking that long just so I could, like, was it just so I could see her so I could remember it? And because of that encounter is why she remembered it for all of those years. Because she would have forgot it, but the lady seizing and shaking and speaking in tongues reminded her about what that message just was. Yeah, I think that's such a powerful story. She's told me the whole story about like sitting in the abortion clinic. When she was about to get the abortion, she goes up to the counter and she's like, I'm ready to go. What the fuck? My name is, why y'all ain't called my name? I've been here since 6 o'clock. It's 8. People that came in after me. She said the lady at the counter, her name was Mary. So she said she'll always remember this lady named Mary touched her hand and said, baby, you know it's not too late to change your mind. So like, I think about those details and those stories often, actually. And it makes me feel reassured that, you know, I don't know what's to come of my life. I don't know what's to come of my art. But I know to some extent I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And with Cole, I wasn't worried because the woman told me back in 1996 that I was going to give birth to a mighty man of God and the world was awaiting his coming. Has the world seen his coming just yet? I don't think so. Is it going to be in the form of Grammys and whatever? I don't know. Will it be just the form of just saving somebody from a car wreck? I don't know. Will it be just the form of children, his lives he's touching? I don't know. It's in the making. That's how I look at it. So I stopped worrying. I gave the guy that says, I can't worry about him not calling me when he gets home to his place in Stone Mountain, but he drives right past my exit. Why can't he push the damn button and say, call mom? But 75% of us do not want to be a burden on our children. I just don't want him to wake up and go to bed, live and breathe me. That is not what he came on. That's not what he was here for. Let him wake up and breathe and live and breathe in children. His music, his art, his talent. Focus on that. And every now and then, just say hi to mama.